On a seemingly ordinary day, I found myself in a conversation with my son, a dialogue that would unwittingly evolve into a profound philosophical exploration. He asked, "Do you believe you go somewhere after you die?" My response, though seemingly evasive, was aimed at making sure he understood what he was asking. "You?" I replied. "Who is you?" The question unfurled into a contemplative journey between me and my son, exploring the depths of what defines the self and the nature of existence beyond the physical realm. To begin, he responded to the question with his name, to which I said, "That's you? So you're asking me if my name, the letters that form Paul, goes somewhere after I die, like tokens from a video game character? Do the letters P, A, U, and L just flutter into the sky, ding ding ding, collecting tokens above?" We laughed. It was his innocent curiosity that ventured into this profound inquiry, not fully grasping the complexity of the identity he referred to as me. So I prompted him to delve deeper, asking him to define who he is beyond the superficial labels our parents gave us. Is me merely a name, a collection of habits, or the physical form we navigate the world in? As the layers of identity peeled away, we arrived at the following. These were his words. "I am a mammal of Earth in the Milky Way that brushes his teeth every day." Now that we had arrived at the body as the seat of identity, I prompted him further. "Okay, so you seem to be telling me you are this body. Now tell me, are you your body? Or do you have a body?" We often think of ourselves as owning a body, don't we? But not really being it. Isn't that interesting? He admitted to having a body, of course, to which I added, "Is it really yours? Tell me, do you beat your heart? Or does it beat of its own accord?" So many functions, such as growing, healing, digestion, my beard getting longer each day, occur without any conscious effort from us. We largely inhabit an involuntary mechanism of nature that seems to hint at a deeper autonomous essence that operates independently of our perceived control. In a way, the body seems to have its own sentience that we are completely unaware of. And while we may have a body, it certainly doesn't appear to be entirely ours. Through this playful banter about being a teeth-brushing mammal and the biological intricacies that compose our being, we stumbled upon the realization that identity and consciousness may in fact transcend the physical constructs we often confine them to. The me that ponders the afterlife must be something other than the tangible body. For the body must of course return to the earth and disintegrate, as well as our brain. But is there really something beyond that? Something elusive and inherently intangible? The idea that our identities might be as automatic and autonomous as our heartbeat or the growth of our hair suggests that the self we feel as me could be a mere observer, experiencing life through a vessel it temporarily inhabits. A blip of consciousness, a brief state of alertness and wakefulness intended to observe the world and exert a force upon it. Are we mere extensions of God's hands, shaping the world as He wills through us? Are we the sun's teardrops as it cries from its solitude and yearning for the embrace of something that wouldn't burn in its grasp? This led us to contemplate the mystery of consciousness itself. If the essence of who we are is not tied to the physical body, then the question of what happens after death takes on a new dimension. My son finally mused that our experiences and consciousness may be akin to data, collected and transmitted back to a greater entity, or maybe they dissipate into the universe, contributing to the collective consciousness of all. His views impressed me, as he was merely 10 years old at the time. This exploration with my son did not lead to definitive answers about the afterlife, but rather peeled back layers of our understanding of self and existence. We laughed, acknowledging the possibility that we might never fully grasp the essence of who we are, or what our place in the cosmos is, yet this journey through questioning and introspection brought us closer to appreciating the complexity and beauty of being. It was a reminder that we often dwell on the surface of our existence, identifying with labels and roles that barely scratch the depths of our true selves. Like the ocean, he said, vast and deep, we contain many layers within us, most of which remain unexplored. Perhaps the journey of life, and whatever lies beyond, is not about finding definitive answers, but about embracing the mystery and depth of our existence, continuously seeking to understand the essence of the you that questions, feels, and exists beyond the physical realm. And now I'd like to dive a little deeper and discuss ideas that may not have been appropriate at the time to discuss with my son in his tender years. So if you're prepared for a deeper dive on this subject, keep listening. It's been over 4 years since that conversation, and it still echoes within me, particularly the question of why my son even asked the question. I never taught him about heaven, or conveyed that we went somewhere after we died. In fact, when dealing with the death of a loved one, someone he was quite close to, a situation my son experienced when he was almost 6 years old, I conveyed a completely different mythology, one that was entirely my own. But of course, imprinting the conventional notion of an afterlife wouldn't really be necessary for him to come across it. The idea is prevalent in our culture and all around the world. While in the West, we borrow from the ideas of the Christian heaven, angels, and demons, in the East, a veneration of family and ancestors has led to the same constructs of souls living among us, invisible to our eyes. And other philosophies, like those found in India, believe we have a kind of soul that exists in continuity throughout various birth and death cycles, like an avatar that flows from one body to the next. So it seems no matter where you go, humans have arrived at the idea that there is something in us that persists. And yet, despite this, I deliberately chose not to teach this to my children. Why? First of all, I enjoy entertaining all afterlife mythologies. But what I would advise to anyone that holds firmly to one is that you'd be best holding onto it lightly. Like many philosophers before me, I believe these ideas, when held too firmly, are harmful to the human psyche and to society at large, as they rob us of the singular opportunity to be a fully present participant in this world. They are antithetical to my views on responsibility, as they suggest true justice or recompense happens after we die. Quite a convenient notion, especially for tyrannical people wishing to continue carrying out their harm on the world, assured that their victims derive some hope and comfort from the belief that their oppressors will be punished eventually. It can encourage inaction, complacency, and uninvolvement, especially during times when action is most needed. Now let me be clear. I'm not saying there is no afterlife. I wouldn't ever utter such a thing because it's not within my empirical reach. What I'm saying is that even if I knew with certainty that there was one, I would absolutely not tell people about it. It would be the most irresponsible thing I could ever do. Now, granted, some might say, well, what if your status in the afterlife is directly correlated to the good deeds you do in this life? This would be the Christian perspective. In the unlikely scenario where I was able to empirically verify that this was true, it would still be irresponsible to broadcast it widely, because if heaven were truly using its pearly gates to select the good from the bad, why would I want to dilute it with souls that merely did good things for the benefit of its access? Who wants to spend an eternity with pretentious good people? There's enough of those to make one mortal lifetime feel like an eternity. Now, while I wish to not dwell on matters that can't be discussed empirically, there is plenty about the afterlife that we can discuss in these terms. A few hundred years before Christendom, we find for the complete podcast, find it free of charge on clearpillphilosophy.com. If you find this content valuable, please consider leaving a donation while you're there.